This is Joyce, the voice of Joyce. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron. It's me. And even though I'm smiling today, I have gone through a roller coaster of emotion. From being sad, to being in despair, to being angry. And I guess anger is where I am now. I really like our democracy. The thought of losing our democracy makes me mad as hell. And that's what's happening today. As all the information keeps coming out that John Bolton, for those of you who don't remember that he was head of foreign affairs under Trump, his book, which may or may not come out in March, comes up with more and more revelations over the Ukrainian affair. Trump does what he always does. Absolute obedience, or you're not working for me. And that's what's happening for the senators. Absolute obedience, or else. I don't know what the or else is except for money, because they're not working for 3/4 of the American people who have said they would like witnesses and evidence. And there are witnesses and evidence to be found. Trump is doing just what he did in 2016, leveling the playing field for himself. 2016, he used Russia and the GRU and WikiLeaks to discredit Hillary Clinton under the auspices of Brad Pascal, who evidently has learned how to work with IT and Facebook hand in glove so that they can be putting out 100,000 images a day that discredit whoever Trump's opponent may be. Now we fast forward to 2018 and 2019, when Trump was already thinking about, Biden may now be my competitor. I'm going to destroy Biden. Make no mistake, there is tremendous culpability on Trump's part. Whatever Hunter Biden did, it was in a company that had already been looked at for corruption, when that corruption was under a previous dictator that Trump worked for, and built a hotel that remained uninhabited to this day. Zelensky is a fresh face in the Ukraine, and Zelensky was the target of Trump's anger. I don't know if impeachment is important to most folks or not. Certainly, many folks are getting a slant on the impeachment process itself and what the crimes committed are. They're getting demonization of the media and demonization of the Democrats, as if what the Democrats have done is wrong. It's not wrong. It's a check and balance on the presidency of the United States. And the Senate or the House, when they feel that a president or the executive branch has done something that is not for the best interests of the American people, impeachment is the only remedy to sanction a president and then remove him. That's when his wishes and his wants no longer coexist with the wants and needs of the country. Well, Trump has been guilty of this twice. First in 2016, and now again in 2018, 19, and 20. Obstruction of justice, there is no doubt. Abuse of power, absolutely. He has abused his power for personal gain. And no president should have that precedent. There is no reason for a president to act outside the will of the people for his own personal gain and comfort. Those are the ethics that all Americans have had since the founding of our republic. And it's something that the middle class still cares about greatly. Integrity, honesty, authenticity, empathy, compassion. None of this is evident in this president. If it were, none of us would be so angry that he is literally getting away with unethical behavior beyond the scope that any of us have ever seen. And this is not right. And not even to have a trial so that we can all see the facts for ourselves equally across the nation. That's not right. And not introducing evidence. That's not right either. This is not something that should be preordained. Impeachment is serious business. When a committee of the House decides that they're going to impeach a president, it is because they know they have the facts on their side, and they're right to do it. But let's say that in spite of everything, you still love Trump, the Republican Party uber alles. That's your prerogative. That's how you feel. You don't care what he did, what he didn't do. But listen to some of the things that are happening in our world that have nothing to do with impeachment. Today, Roundup, the weed killer, was just deemed an acceptable product for the marketplace, and we're being told, though we know this is not true, that it does not cause cancer. It does cause cancer. And any manufacturer who has sold Roundup has been fined for it. Doesn't matter. The Trump administration says perfectly safe. 1/3 of the fields planted with Roundup are no longer, I guess, tillable for crops. Perfectly safe product, according to the administration. Something that I've railed against since he was elected is now going to become law. Group or state grants for Medicaid. This will put millions of people off of the health care rolls. It is a heartless thing to do because given the opportunity, Trump's Republican cohorts will not give Medicaid to everyone who needs it and should have it. They had no compunction to minimize SNAP payments, which actually fund food for children. So on the one hand, you have an administration that is for the corporation, by the corporation, for the profits, melding with big business and the administration. And then on the other hand, we have 90% of the people who are not seen and not heard. And if they die, I don't think that those governors or Trump will shed a tear. After all, they minimized the injuries to 50 American soldiers who had serious concussions because of the Iranian missile strike on our barracks. They said it's a headache. Well, maybe they should experience a headache like that, and they could have a little empathy for our men and women in service. About 16,000 men and women in service experience these concussive problems, and we have no idea what happens to them afterwards. Then let's think about labor and what's happened to labor. Labor is wondering, when do they see wage increases? And the short answer is, not under this administration. Not at all. Another 4 years, labor's going to be in trouble, and so will the economy. Late-stage capitalism doesn't seem to get it, that when you don't pay labor, they can't consume. If they can't consume, and we are a financial products-based country, what in the world are we going to purchase, and how will the financial institutions survive? They're not. The Fed chairman has just loosened regulations on the banks. That means they may play with their cushion against recession. They may take risks all over again. Only now our global economy is so intertwined that those risks will be catastrophic for everyone. China has the coronavirus, but evidently it's already affecting about 120 countries. And since our supply chains are involved in China, we may not get even the consumer products that we need so that they can sell goods to the American people who can't afford to purchase unless it's on more credit. So we're into a vicious cycle. We're actually into an SOS for labor. Labor is left out, and it started to be left out in 1971 when Lewis Powell, before he became a Supreme Court judge, realized that American labor was making tremendous strides in the country, and there was a thriving middle class. He was unhappy, and so he convinced the Chamber of Commerce, Richard Nixon, the conservative movement, to set up think tanks, to set up pamphlets, to recruit educators, to preach that only shareholder value was what was important to the American people, forgetting or not caring that most of us cannot even afford to purchase the stocks. So, no need to wonder, was this a conspiracy? No conspiracy at all. This was a planned movement to make sure that labor never had power again. And that's happening today. Before Powell became involved, unions were 35% of our nation. In comparison today, France is at 98%, Germany is at 56%, and Great Britain, which is a microcosm of us, is at 28%. We're at 12%. So when you couple that with monopolies and stagnating wages and no vertical mobility or movement, life is not good for America's workers, but it's great for equity, and it's great for the stock market, and it's great for the people who support Trump, because they will selectively get jobs, because those states will be rewarded with some cash for some funding on infrastructure. But you know what? $8 billion is a drop in the bucket. The economists say we need 30 trillion. 30 trillion over 10 years means about 10 trillion a year. I don't know where we get the revenue for that, but you know what? I would invest in a green bond in a heartbeat, because a green bond would be good for everyone in this country, and we could go into renewable energy and develop new products that probably none of us have even thought of before. When we're motivated to recycle properly, when we're motivated to cut our carbon footprint, all of us can finally make more money. The Harvard Law School and the Ford Foundation that is sponsoring it sponsored 70 professors and attorneys to come up with laws that would make it easier for labor to have a seat at the corporate table and for labor to have a bargaining position, and to also have monitors like they do in Germany. If 3 people decide that they need a workplace monitor, they could have a monitor that would interpret the corporate bylaws and the safety of their working conditions. They could also have a say in community affairs and have a partnership with communities for affordable housing. So we're in an SOS for labor. We're in an SOS for good manufacturing practices. We're in an SOS for our democracy, and all because we have a conservative movement that places profits over people. Late-stage capitalism is just that. It's late stage. Can't survive, folks. And we can't either if we allow no checks and balances on government, and if we don't agree to separate the corporate world from the business of statesmen and stateswomen. We haven't done it yet. We've got to do it now. There's an election coming up in November, and time goes quickly. This is not a time to be in despair. It is not a time to ignore the facts. We have a dire situation ahead of us. We must preserve our democracy. If we don't, we are not going to preserve the 90% of Americans who don't benefit from the Trump administration, nor will we preserve the rest of the globe that needs us to lead in many, many policy decisions. So, wasn't exactly what I planned to speak about today, but it's certainly timely, and it's certainly what's on my mind right now as I think about impeachment, and I think about the reasons, and I'm mad as hell that this is not a fair trial, and that we can all see and learn the facts. One country united. That's the only way all of us are going to be winners in this world. One country, united. There is no other. It's only us. Thank you for listening. See you next week. If something changes, hey, I'll do a video and just insert it. And please subscribe. If what I say resonates with you and has meaning for you, push that button and subscribe and give me a voice. I think that I do have a voice of reason and of knowledge, and I only want the best for all of us. That's my only motivation. So take care, everyone, and have a blessed day. Thank you.